Hey everybody, happy Monday. It's Kit here and welcome back to the Fractured Wanderer Tales. And today there is a serious talk on the horizon. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it, and maybe after this one I won't be putting them up like every single week. I don't know. We're rapidly catching up to the end of what I have on the blog. And then Tumblr, I have a few more parts up of it as well. It's just I'm not exactly sure where they're at. So, I don't know. Schedule's gonna be a little wonky. So, yeah. Let's get into it, shall we? It's been a long time since she's had a bit of an update on her attire. Perhaps it's her newfound look on life, an uplifted attitude, or a person. The cold is bitter this long winter's night. She can freely admit to herself that she quite enjoys Jackson's company. She does not wish for this winter to end. Once it does, they will go their separate ways. And it is nearly halfway over. She does not look forward to the spring flowers like she usually does, for she will have no one to enjoy them with. Just as it should be. Oh, how I wish it wasn't so. Her sleep schedule hasn't been normal in about 2 generations, she believes. Jackson is off doing something else for a few days again. He comes in and out of her life, but she doesn't mind, for he has a life of his own that she is not a part of, and that's how it should be. Friends are important, but family is more important. A job creates money, which is how people live. She gets it. So, she spends her time tending to her winter herbs and doing her art in the snow. The snowflakes fall into her hair. But she cannot help but feel sad as winter begins to shorten. Still, soon her friend will be gone. Already she was worried because he called tonight and said he would come to her home, her humble abode in the woods that he somehow knew about, that she didn't tell him about. He sounded so serious and wouldn't tell her what's wrong. Thus, she is rightfully worried. The warmth of the flames soothes her worries a little bit. Still, she is fractured and seemingly immortal at this point in time. What can he truly do? She trusts him not to kill her at the very least. Perhaps he's known where she's lived from the start. Perhaps he followed her home one night. Perhaps he knows everything. Or nothing. Only he can tell her. For a while, they enjoyed the warmth and the snow. Soon he arrived, finding her huddled by the roaring fire. This was a relatively new addition to her cabin home. She got it set up before the heavy snow set in. They shared their usual greetings and sat on the logs, enjoying the warmth. So, what brings you all this way, Jackson? The cold permeated her bones, but it didn't seem to affect him. Not that it ever did. He was an odd one, as always, but she still trusted him. He smiled as if to reassure her, but the serious glint in his eyes was mixed with uncertainty. She was not reassured. Sally, I'm a bit worried about you, honestly. The truth leaked from his voice. I know you don't really have a name, or papers, or a birth certificate, or, well, anything. I checked, because you and I are, well, I just do it for the people that are in my life for a prolonged period of time. Again, there was a funny lilt to his voice when he said, prolonged period of time. For the first time since she first met him, Her head began to pound, only to go away after a moment. Now, why would he do that? You looked into me? Why? Because I was curious. You aren't exactly like every other woman in this universe, so you can't blame me for wondering. Now, looking, that's another matter, but that's not the point. The point is, I want to help you. Help? Her? She doesn't need help. She is perfectly fine. If she cannot provide for herself, the mother's bounty will, as it has for 3 generations. She will survive, because she has a purpose in this world, until such time that the Cloaked One takes her. She does not need his concern or his help. That's sweet, but with Jackson looking all serious and cross at her, she couldn't help but laugh a little, trying to cover up the sound with her hand. It was sweet that he was concerned, but really, she was 100% fine. Thank you for the offer, but I honestly do not need your help or your concern. I'm fine. She really was. He wasn't convinced. Sally, this home isn't exactly cheap. Living is, it's expensive. He smoothly hit his curse and kept right on going. And as the years go on, those small commissions you get won't cover all the bills. It was true. While her home was small, the land was nice, and bills were not cheap in Brindleton Bay. Still, she made it work, and she was never worried. Therefore, neither should he. But speaking of commissions, I don't want you to pay for my artwork anymore, Jackson. I'll just give it to you. You seem to enjoy it enough. Indeed, they would talk about art for hours. Her rebuttal seemed to amuse him, instead of infuriating him, as she expected. No, I will pay you because the work is excellent quality, and an artist should be paid. He continued as if she hadn't attempted to get him off this sorry subject. I know people who can make you excellent paper, Sally. Yes, I believe that is illegal, and it is not necessary. I don't need them. With slight panic, she began to think of a good backstory to tell him in case he asked why she didn't have any. Somehow, my dog ate them didn't seem good enough. If it worked for children. You do, though, and it would be of no expense to you. Jackson, please stop. I don't need them. It would be a major expense. And not only is that illegal, and there is the risk of prison involved, but that sort of work it isn't cheap. I will be fine. He played with fire like a child would, even as her temper began to stir. Don't worry about the money, Sally. People owe me favors. It's no trouble at all. He was unconcerned as fire singed his clothes and fingers. No, Jackson, don't do it. I won't need them. He wasn't listening to her at all, instead, just continuing to play with the deadly force burning the logs. A known emotion muddled his red eyes. You will eventually. I could just get it done without you knowing. Eventually he will be dead, and she will be alone. No one needed to know she was here. After this winter there would be no more. Papers were the least of her concerns, and currently her only worries were not to burn her marshmallow and to finish this argument. Well, now is not eventually. Drop it, please. I don't want them, and I do not need them. You are a good soul for offering, but that is illegal, and you most certainly do not need to get into trouble. Certainly not on my behalf. I will be fine. I've survived this long in my life without such a small, mundane thing as papers, and I will survive for quite a while more. He scowled slightly. She bit her lip and tried for a joke. Besides, you would look awful in prison attire. There are no skulls on those uniforms, you know. Prison. Hm. He scoffed and muttered under his breath for several seconds, too low for her to hear. He was cross with her, she could tell, but this she would not budge on. I will leave you alone now. Bye. He left so quickly, it was as if he wasn't there at all. But the tension in the air remained, and her heart despaired. Arguments were part of life. They were an unfortunate consequence to a relationship, but as long as you moved past them and they were resolved, all would continue on. But this wasn't nearly as big of a deal as she was expecting, but it did get nastier than she expected. He was quite adamant and stubborn to help her, but it wasn't necessary. She cannot tell him why. She could never tell him why. Perhaps this friendship she had permitted herself to have was a huge mistake. Just as she had expected. She was such a fool. She should have listened to her gut instinct. But now it is done. She expects he won't be around anymore. And she will not call him anymore. She is alone once more. Oof. Yeah, that just happened. Winter's not quite over, but it appears as if Jackson and Sally are. It's hard keeping secrets in relationships, period. And both of them got cards close to their chest. Does Jackson have ulterior motives for wanting to help her? Hard to say. She certainly bears no ill will towards him, but winter is soon to be done. Something had to give, and neither of them are willing to budge on this. He wants to get her papers for some reason, and she doesn't need them because he won't be around much longer, and it's best if no one knows she exists. She wanted a friendship, and maybe it didn't end so well. A learned lesson or just a first failed attempt? Only time will tell. What do y'all think? Do y'all think Jackson has ulterior motives? Do you think he's just being nice? Do you think Sally could have handled that better? I'm curious. But yeah, anyways, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll be back with more in the coming weeks. I don't know if I'm going to do another one next week or not. I might. I might not. I don't know. It's a week by week basis on some of this stuff right now. So, yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank y'all so very much for watching, and I hope y'all have a good day and a great rest of your week. Don't forget, where the water's slow, legacies grow. Bye!